How are you?
Lovely. I'm not too bad, thanks. Yourself?
That's good. Yeah, good. Thank you. A bit tired, but trying to I was originally meant to train legs this morning, so I got up nice and early, 4 a.m. and then the missus decided she wanted to do it later in the day, so kind of threw things up a bit, and now I'm just like trying to get in that little bit of midday crash. I'm like hopefully gonna get G'd up and motivated from this conversation to
Yeah,
then go smash some legs. So I got my oxy shred to get me through and wake me up and
beautiful.
have some fat chats.
Love that. Love that.
How's your morning been?
Yeah, not too bad. Just I went out for a walk with a mate this morning, so already knocked off 6,000 steps fasted, which is always
Fuck
good.
yeah.
Sets up the day nice and well. So yeah, pretty chill morning. Just get the steps in, and got a rest day today, so it should be pretty chill. Just take some nice time off. So
Yeah, just kind of cruise and try to enjoy what is there of the day when not
exactly
all the
right.
tasks need to be ticked off.
100%, 100%.
I think it's so underrated. Like I've been super busy lately and like doing things like kind of really early in the morning and then not being able to kind of because I'm a big person who thinks like I'd rather like get steps all done in the morning, like go to the gym. I'll do like faster cardio, train,
Yep.
eat, train, and then I'll do steps after training. And then in between all that, doing whatever chores before like getting into a work block or whatever. It's like, yeah, I want to try and have like 8,000, 9,000 left. So where it's just kind of walking around the house, making food, or, little extra things you got to do around the house, you kind of tick those last 2,000 steps. Where like
Hmm.
the past couple of days, it's been terrible. It's like getting down to like 6 p.m. and it's like, fuck, I still have 5,000 to go.
That's
I think it's
the
like the
worst
worst
feeling.
feeling.
Yeah, yeah. 100% relatable. Yeah, there's nothing worse than, yeah, like it'll hit like 8 o'clock and then look at the Apple Watch and be like, fuck, you can't not see that number go under 10,000 by the end of the
Yeah.
day. So you just got to do whatever you can to knock that 10K off. So
So are you just at a step target? Are you doing any additional cardio at the moment or anything like that?
So, as far as expenditure goes, it's 5 days a week, doing 25 minutes of cardio,
Hmm.
which I just do on the elliptical. I find that it's the best sort of trade off for calories burned and, fatigue accumulated.
Yeah, yeah.
And then step target's actually 9,000 at the minimum, but like I'm always sort of hitting 10,000 anyway.
Yeah.
And then it's at least if I'm not doing fasted cardio, it's 3,000 steps fasted as well.
Okay.
So
It's all
yeah,
right. It's not too
not
bad.
not not terrible. Yeah, yeah, exactly right. Not too bad.
So what I kind of like to start off with is kind of taking things back because
Hmm.
I also saw that you did a bit of powerlifting. Am I right?
Correct. Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Because like what blew me away was like one, how fucking good you look right now. Two,
Thank you.
that you're 22. And then seeing that you did powerlifting, and I was like, damn, how long has this man been like doing sports for? So, kind of, let's like, for anyone listening who doesn't know you, I just kind of want to get everyone up to date on where it all kind of started. So, obviously, you were doing powerlifting before you got into bodybuilding. So, kind of, how did that? When did you start training? Did you play sports as a kid? Like, how did that all come about?
Yeah, for sure. So I played majority of my like growing up, I played soccer at a reasonably high level. And then sort of bodybuilding actually caught my eye before powerlifting did. So it was when I was about, I'd say like very young, at about 12 years old. No one in my family really has a history of bodybuilding or gym for that matter. I don't know what it was. I was quite insecure at quite a young age. So, I mean, at the age of 12, no kid should really be insecure about their weight. Like, you're
Yeah,
12 years
yeah.
old. But at the time, I was quite on the heavier side, on the chubbier side. And I was just, I don't know what it was. I just really wanted to start losing weight. So I looked into nutrition and then stumbled across bodybuilding and sort of just fell in love with bodybuilding. And then literally I've got screenshots on my phone from 2017 of Seabum when he wasn't even who he is now. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so back ages ago, yeah, when I was about 13 years old in 2017, bodybuilding really caught my eye. And then still played soccer throughout that time. And then I was just really invested in bodybuilding though. Like there was a point in time when I was about 14 years old, my whole wall behind me, I spent probably a full day printing out photos of bodybuilders.
Yeah,
And, I'd have, my brother would think quite weirdly of it having like, half naked men all
yeah,
there. But
yeah.
it was just a big passion of mine ever since I was a kid. And sort of as soon as I had a trainer, a sort of very old school bodybuilder that my dad knew through a mate who trained me because my dad wanted to put me in sort of safe hands at that young
Yeah.
age. So I had a PT when I was about 12, 13 years old that just ran me through the basics. It was very good, very sort of didn't accelerate things too quick, just made sure my form was 100%. And it wasn't until I was about 14, 15 that he actually recommended me do a powerlifting competition. Just I had sort of no interest in powerlifting, but I thought, you know what, I'll give it a go. Did all right. That was when I was 15, so the end of 2019, and then 2019 through till about 2021, I did powerlifting, competed in multiple comps through that, and then it got to a point where I was supposed to compete at nationals for powerlifting, and then COVID was doing its thing. That got called
Yeah.
off, and I was like, you know what, bodybuilding is what got me into this in from the very start. Let's start making a transition to bodybuilding. And then a year later, in 2022, I competed in my first show in for WFF, and then yeah, and then ever since sort of late 2021, I've just been doing bodybuilding ever since. So it's definitely been a long journey, but yeah, super grateful that I got into it when I did because I feel like it's really set me up to the point where I am at now. You know, been having 22 and trained for about 10 years now.
Yeah,
So
crazy, crazy.
yeah,
Well, your physique shows it, that's for sure.
no, thank you very much. Thank you.
What so this will be your first IFBB show, hey.
Correct. Yeah. So
That's
I've
exciting. That's
yeah,
exciting.
I competed in 2022 with WFF, and I was like, it was like like I did compete, but to me it wasn't as serious. Like I was still in the midst of year 12.
Mm.
You know, I didn't take it nowhere near as seriously as something like what I am now.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, super keen to see for the next few weeks for sure, and just to get on that IFBB stage.
Because yeah, you're still in the junior, right? Junior's
Correct.
23.
Yeah,
Yeah,
23 is the
that's
cutoff. Yeah,
exciting. That's exciting. Juniors is always fun.
yeah.
What so to take it back to a bit to the powerlifting.
Hmm.
So do you think so I recently actually because of what I do with work, like working with like a powerlifting gym a little bit and
Yep.
it's been really interesting because obviously I've only been bodybuilding. Like obviously I knew like bench squat, deadlift. I understood powerlifting, but never kind of like little bits of the ins and outs and training styles and things like that. And then since kind of working with them and going to my first powerlifting comp and that, it's been really interesting kind of see how really different it is. But then also, I guess the training approach. So what I want to kind of understand was like when you were working with that your dad's friend or who was somewhat of a
Yep.
bodybuilder when you first started off and you're kind of learning all the foundations and the basics. Then when you kind of whoever suggested for you to do powerlifting, did you kind of go into a really rigid powerlifting style training, or were you still kind of doing like accessory work and hypertrophy based to build? Like how was that your training influenced around then?
To be honest, my training for the first, like there wasn't really much of a structured training for the
Yeah.
first few years of my lifting. Like it was just a lot of um oh, to some extent, it would just be like a lot of triples, a lot of like sets of five and all
Yeah.
that sort of stuff. But my programming for the first few comps, I just did myself. I just, was a young teenager and just got caught up in, just moving heavy weight,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and just, quite reckless trying to PR every now and then, especially through lockdown. I had my own setup at home and like every single week I was just trying to PR. And that's sort of what my training was revolved around. And then I think in the start of 2021, I was coached by, I'm not sure if you know Reese Keane at all. He's a big powerlifter
Okay.
from, I think, in Brisbane or Queensland.
Yeah.
And he did my programming for a while, which was your typical sort of powerlifting based programming, which is where I learned that, it's not optimal to try PR every single week.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so yeah, throughout my powerlifting days, I think the training actually wasn't as structured as it could have been. But then again, I wouldn't have it any other way because there's nothing in my eyes, being a young teenager and just moving heavy weight and getting away with it
Yeah.
is, yeah,
That's the fun in it.
exactly right. Yeah, for sure, for
And
sure.
I was gonna say, like, I wouldn't be surprised, and I'd be intrigued to hear what you think now that you've kind of dabbled in both, and obviously, yes, you were a bit younger when you were kind of doing the powerlifting, but how much of that style of training or doing all those heavy compounds and competing like that with powerlifting, do you think has influenced kind of the density of like a little bit of that size? Because your back is so impressive, let alone just like
Thank
the
you.
thickness in your quads. So it's like, how do you think that has had an influence, or do you think maybe that's come from just training for so long at such a young age?
I think a combination of the two, definitely, but I really do think the powerlifting very much so helped it,
Hmm.
especially in like, yeah, the density through my back. I feel like a lot of the, you can't sort of replicate that look. I mean, I guess you can with accessories, but I feel like a lot of it's going to be, your heavy barbell rows, your
Yeah.
heavy T-bar rows, your heavy deadlifts, all that sort of stuff. And I feel like the same goes for my legs as well. I mean, genetically, my legs were always a bit of a strong point for me, which I'm lucky to have. But I really do think the powerlifting, if I just started bodybuilding and didn't do powerlifting, I think I'd still have the size, but I just feel like the overall density wouldn't be as
Yeah.
noticeable. So I
Yeah.
definitely feel like, out of the gates, just obviously whilst ensuring my form is 100%, moving really heavy weight, aiming on progressing, and just, you know, lugging around heavy weight and free weights definitely did help for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Because that's that biggest thing for like people, I guess, like especially when they're, and it seems like even your second competition, but very like in that 18 to 23, 24 range, like you are kind of not having that density, and you're kind of trying to work against, well, how conditioned can I get, what size can I bring, but it's just waiting for that muscle maturity. But because you've had that time on your sleeve for so long, like you said, and lifting all those heavy weights is kind of like being to your favor, really.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%, 100%. So yeah, I feel like it's definitely a good, like, there was obviously, when I got into it, there's a lot of stigma around it, between, the whole myth about stunting your growth and all that sort of stuff. So I feel like that's what holds a lot of people back potentially. But I feel
Yeah.
like if you're young and wanting to get into, you know, heavy lifting in general, as long as you spend the time to perfect your form, it can have such a positive trade-off in the long term, especially, if you want to just build a great impressive physique at an older age. It's like such a benefit to it for sure.
Yeah. So just before the powerlifting, you said that you were playing soccer.
Correct. Yeah.
You said at a somewhat of a high level?
Decently high level, yeah. So I played at what's called NPL level, which is National Premier League in
Hmm.
Victoria. Yeah, at a decently high level. So it was quite, intense training. Still balanced, going to the gym with that. So like midweek, I'd go to the gym before school, and then go to school, and then go train soccer and things like that. But then sort of lost a bit of a passion for it as my passion for the gym
Yeah.
developed a bit later on. So
Where do you think that influence? Because obviously you said like kind of you kind of bodybuilding caught your eye, but no one in your family had kind of really done anything like that. Where do
mhm.
you think? And obviously like playing soccer at a young age, then the gym, powerlifting, bodybuilding now. Do is sports really big in your family? Where do you think that like drive for, I guess, athleticism or routine that seems like because I, in my opinion, like not that it's abnormal, but I'm sure like within one to every three or four kids, like not everyone starts so young.
Yeah, 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 for
So
sure. I think for me, it was just um like, if I think back to when I was like, 12 years old, there was nothing that really, I was just like a regular kid. A lot of like, as I said, I was quite overweight. I would play like a lot of video games and things like that. And I think it was just eventually I started getting quite self-conscious with my body.
yeah,
And then I was looking at ways to sort of like fix that and obviously get into shape. And then I don't know, it's just when I sort of found, like, I guess, through, there was like various, like looking at physiques like The Rock and stuff like that. Not people that, not necessarily bodybuilders that you're exposed to at a young age, just like general people that you see
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah,
movies and stuff like that. Like people, a bit older than me would have the same thing to say about Arnold, right?
yeah,
Because he was
yeah,
like in his prime when they were watching those sort of movies. So for me, it was like people like The Rock, just people with great physiques, and then I was like, wow, like that is really cool. And then obviously going down that sort of rabbit hole, and then eventually it crosses over to coming across bodybuilding.
Hmm.
And the first, it's quite specific actually. The first person that like I looked at his physique and I thought, wow, like that's what I want to look like. I'm not sure you're familiar. He's an IFBB pro, Sadiq Hadzovic.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
So
Men's
his
physique,
yeah.
right?
Well, he did classic and also men's.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. Yeah, it's quite specific, but I vividly recall his physique was the first one I saw, and I was like, "Fuck!" Like that's what I want to look like.
Yeah, yeah.
When I was like 12, 13 years old, and like I've
That's so funny that you say that. Who was that? I was talking to someone recently actually, and we were talking about kind of being a bit younger and like our age, and it's like what you even said, like some of the older people would like, their first type of people like that would have been like Arnold and Lou when Lou played like the Hulk and things like that. But it's like, because we kind of grew up, I guess, a little bit on that, social media, YouTube. And I remember like the first kind of, because like I know for me, I used to grow up watching like Dragon Ball Z, and I'd be like, damn, like they look at their physiques, and then like you said, like you watch a movie like with The Rock in it, or you see something with Arnold or whatever, and you're like, yo, people can actually kind of somewhat look like that. And then I
yeah,
remember my first like bodybuilding esque influence was like on YouTube with like Australia's own like Callum Von Moga, and then like Simeon Panda, and I remember seeing stuffs of Sadiq, and it's
yeah,
just
yeah,
so
yeah,
funny. I think when you're a bit younger, and because they would have also been, it's like they had that more, I guess, like mainstream look, so to speak. And then obviously Chris kind of came about. And then from there, when you delve into it, you then kind of see those bigger boys that there are now in the open. But it's
hundred
just, yeah,
percent.
funny that you said that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There you go.
Do you think so what category are you doing? Are you doing classic or bodybuilding?
I'll do, but I'm doing both classic and bodybuilding. I've had that question. So always, but like before prep started, I was so set on classic.
Yeah.
I feel like I was always going to do both just for the first show. And now I'm getting a lot of people ask me that question again. The reason I purely pose in my open trunks now is because my classic trunks have gotten a bit too big for me. Like I've
Yeah.
sort of, with the waist shrinking, they don't fit me as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So I'm always just posing in the bodybuilding. I've got new classic ones on the way, but yeah. So I'll be doing both, but I wouldn't be surprised if this will be my last season in classic, just because it's a bit of a weird one. My height, I'm about roughly like 180 centimeters.
Mm,
The classic cap at one, if you're 180.2 or below, I'm pretty sure the cap's 94.8.
mm.
If you're 180 to 183 or above, the cap's 98.4. And I'm sitting at sort of 95 at the moment. So if I, depending on which weight cap I get, if I get the 94.8 weight cap based on my height, it'll probably be my first and last season in classic. But if I get the 98.4, I probably could squeeze another season. But I mean, in saying that, like prior to prep, my headspace was always, leaning towards classic, but now like the thought of competing in opens in the future is very, very exciting. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'll take it sort of as time goes on. But for this show, I'll likely do both classic and bodybuilding for states, get the feedback, and then if the judges say, your physique's more suited to be competitive in classic, I'll do that, or national, or sorry, or open, I'll do open.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Well, it's very true. Like, you at the end of the day, you still kind of got time on your side, and you're kind of just balancing on what, especially in the IFBB, you want to hear what the judges have to say, and then it can kind of dictate. And, because it's funny, a friend of mine, same thing. He did classic. He likes classic, and he kind of did, and he's kind of continued to be able to do. But I think now, because of the way he's growing, I think he kind of reached his classic limit. But for the past three shows, he was doing both.
yeah.
Um, but it's funny, he in the last showing, he ended up getting rewarded better for bodybuilding than like open than classic, because of just, I think he has great shape, and he's got like the structure, but like muscle wise and density, it like suits more bodybuilding
Mm,
than classic. So he's gonna have to kind of like, I guess, step away from that. And so you may have experienced that, or like you said, judges might go, you know what, classic is for you. But the joys of a weight cap, I guess.
exactly right. Yeah. Like it's yeah, I'm not sort of tied into one class or one category. My coaches, said that to me as well, like based at the sort of like if we estimate sort of how much weight I'll put on after rebounding after the off season, if it means that I've got to sort of sacrifice size to make weight, it's a decision that I'll have to make ultimately. And I
Yeah.
feel like probably not worth it if I have to lose a few kilos of size. Like I'd probably just flourish more so in the open category in the future. But
Yeah.
time will tell at the end of the day. So
Definitely, definitely, definitely. So you're working with George, Flex George, hey?
correct, yeah.
So when did that kind of, so when you did your, was it WBF, what was it?
WFF World.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it stands for, but yeah, that was 4 years ago now.
Yeah. So where was the transition? Because obviously you were with a different coach then, were you, or were you still with George?
Correct. Yeah. So I was with a coach that got recommended to me. His name's Rhett Pottinger. He was a pro within that federation.
Hmm.
So I was with him for the duration of that show, and then went solo for a bit, and then um, I was with someone called Brandon Wang, also known as the Quadfather, for a fair while. He worked out of my Emerge, the gym I train at,
Hmm.
and he was really good. And then um, worked with Scott Goebel for a bit.
Yeah.
That was short lived though. I wasn't working a whole lot because I was still at uni and stuff. So financially, it was not really sustainable. But he
Yeah.
was an exceptional coach. I was with him for a few months, um, and then I was sort of on my own for the good chunk of 2024. I had help from a few boys at the gym and things like that, just to keep me sort of accountable and not second guessing. And then hopped on board with George at around November 2024. So it's been about a year, maybe like 18 months or
Yeah.
so, and haven't looked back since. Like I can't see myself, even thinking about starting with another coach because he's just, yeah, amazing at what he does. Gives me sort of the best peace of mind with absolutely anything, and yeah, he's been absolutely amazing for the duration that I've had him. And yeah, I would never look any other way to a different coach after having him. So
Yeah, I think it's so important when you can, especially if you can find it early on, finding that coach that you can really like connect with, and it just feels like you said, you're never having a second guess. You don't even question about like, maybe, do I need to eventually start looking out, or well, let's see how this competition goes, and then maybe I'll go elsewhere. You just kind of feel like you've made a good bond.
100%, yeah. Like, and we've got a very professional coach to client relationship. I feel, um, like, I mean, like I like to have the approach as an athlete, literally whatever he says I do, like
Yeah.
sort of thing. So that's sort of been really well maintained throughout the duration of the experience with him, and literally like, yeah, to me what he says is sort of Bible. Like I never sort of second guess
Yeah.
anything, which is always the best, especially when you are going the enhanced route. You can always sort of like overthink stuff and all
Mm.
this and all that. But having him in my corner has just made it such an easy process. So
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's always nice, like, I've heard lots of good things about George himself. And then I think also just kind of knowing the connection George has, obviously, with the Flex team, with Dean, and then the success of, Dean and his clients. And so you kind of know that you're working, maybe it's not with Dean, but they work together as a team. So, you're kind of, regardless, still in that good hands. And I think that helps overall.
100%, yeah. And the flex team, it's like so many amazing athletes on
Mm.
board. Obviously, you've got Ethan Gahari competing at the Olympia. You've got Tom
Tom,
Stanley absolutely killing it as well.
yeah.
So many, absolutely amazing athletes. So to be able to be a part of a team where you're amongst competitors like that, it's just so intrinsically motivating in itself.
Mm.
So yeah, it's an amazing team to be a part of, and I'm super super grateful to be on the team for sure.
It's awesome. So I'd love to kind of hear how the gym has, I guess, shaped you like over the years, like from kind of like, who you are today and in this prep and kind of getting ready for this new chapter, this new federation, this new show. How has, I guess, the past, like, or even just from starting bodybuilding, do you think like the gym has shaped who you are as a person and where you're at now?
Yeah, for sure. So I think, I mean, it's the gym. it's one of those things that is solely revolved around like delayed gratification. Like obviously it's not one of those things where you get the results then and there. It's like a long journey where I mean it's taken me sort of 10 years to get to where I am today. So it really helps develop that patience with everything that you not only like obviously it's directly applied to the gym, but then you also, for me, it's used that sort of thing of not expecting the results to come, ASAP, that I have that approach with a lot of things like in life now as
Yeah.
well. Um, it could be sort of anything, whether it's, business related or just even, self improvement related. It's just, the gym has helped me on top of that build sort of positive habits in general. Looking after myself, being more productive, being more disciplined, being more just everything along those sorts of lines. So it's it's definitely had such a positive impact. And I feel like the gym's one of those things where you sort of it's a 24/7. Well, bodybuilding is a 24/7 sort of hobby. It's not something like a performance based sport where you train 3 days a week and play 1 day a week, and then the rest of the week it's just whatever. Like bodybuilding's every single meal, every single bit of cardio, every single bit of training. So um, it just kept me sort of in very much so routine. And I guess at times it's hard to not make bodybuilding your whole life, which I
Mm.
guess can be a bit of a negative aspect of it. But I mean, it's over time you I've sort of helped myself find that balance, and switch off from it if I want to enjoy time with friends and family, and overall just had such a positive impact, and it sort of plays off to many various aspects of life in a very positive way. So yeah, it's definitely like changed my life for the better, and very grateful to have gone down this route.
Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. Like something you said that I really, really liked and I wanted to build on was, you know, we see so much. It's just crazy how much like bodybuilding still kind of has a stigma to it. Like it's funny. Like I had got into a conversation with someone that I guess like not really like gym related, didn't really like, and kind of like, those people that don't really are not that involved in the gym. And so when they think of a bodybuilder or they see a bodybuilder or you get a conversation, they go, oh, steroids, are unhealthy, unhealthy, unhealthy. And it's just so crazy when you're in it and you kind of go like you sound like an idiot and like in a kind way. But and it's just funny that it's like because what you said, what did you say? Where am I going with this? Now I'm forgetting. Um, it's that like, oh yeah, like you see, because it is a 24-hour sport, it's like you are like you said, you can find time, and obviously it can have its negatives because obviously there is only so much you can do, and you can be a bit too obsessive, or you can push people away. But you know, you're always being mindful of what you do. Like, we may make sacrifices and things like that to, when you go down an enhanced route or to maybe not necessarily, say no to certain things, but at least like, like you said, because I've been seeing things lately of like, NBA players and footballers and things like that, and like old videos of like Shaq talking about like Dennis Rodman and stuff like that. And it's like they'd go to training that day, train all day, then they'll go to club all night, do drugs, then come go. And it's like, how is that any more healthier than like at least what I mean? It's just so funny how
100%.
much that is kind of ignored. Like not that bodybuilding it is an extreme, and I do understand that, and I think, but it's like some people don't want to see it that way. They don't want to see that there is another side to it that's not it's not as a negative as what you think it is.
Mm. Yeah, there definitely is a bit of a stigma around around it all. Like even things like when you go out and you sort of bring your meal prep somewhere, you get
Mm.
weird looks and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, I feel like there is always going to be a stigma around it, whether it's fueled from people sort of being sort of insecure about, you wanting to better yourself and then coming to terms with the fact that they don't want to do that. Whatever it is, like there definitely is that stigma revolved around it. But I mean, at the end of the day, you do it for yourself,
Yeah.
and that's the biggest thing. So
have you kind of maybe experienced like, because obviously powerlifting is somewhat different and not as maybe as restrictive. Have
Hmm.
you noticed like, you know, people in your life like come and go or not kind of understood, or you've always kind of had a really good circle of people that have kind of supported you through whatever phase you've kind of been in?
No, I'm like my sort of immediate, like, I mean, first and foremost, my family's been, without having a history of really anyone in my family being into the gym. And I've got one older brother who trains every now and then, but, doesn't meal prep or nothing, just sort of
Yeah.
trains. He's in good shape, but just sort of trains, plays a bit of soccer here and there. So no one's really had that history of being to the gym until me. And my family's just grasped that incredibly well. Like they've been, you know, super, super supportive through everything, which has been really, really good. Like there's been absolutely no issues with them supporting me, whether it's through powerlifting or bodybuilding, especially now, like being in the later stages of prep. Like they've been incredibly accommodating and supportive through all of that, which has been amazing. My immediate circle of friends, it's a sort of the same deal. Like no one's really into the gym as much.
Hmm.
I'm sort of known as that sort of bodybuilder mate, a part of the group and all that sort of stuff. And like they get it. Like I felt bad, a few weeks ago because I was like a bit distant from the group in itself. So
Hmm.
I reached out individually to a lot of the boys and just was like, oh, listen, like I feel like I've been a bit of a shitmate recently, like not touching base, this, that. And all of them were like, bro, like we completely get it. Like we know that you're sort of going through this, and yeah, we might not know exactly what it all entails, but we 100% understand that even if you're not reaching out, like your intentions amongst all us boys have not
Hmm.
changed at all. So like they've been really good. I'm very lucky to have, mates, family that have been really, really understanding. And then, you get the sort of odd mate or sort of extended family member here or there where, you know, like there was an instance where I was I was at one of my mates' place, and I had like usually I always like if we go out to eat or something, I'm like either saying no or I got meal prep or something, and then one of them was like, "Oh, went out for pizza," and then they're like, "Oh, it's good to see that you're eating normal food for a change," and I'm like, "I'm eating pizza, and you're calling pizza the normal food as opposed to when I bring the chicken and rice."
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just things like that, which I mean, people are just like gonna have like those sort of things, but all in all, it's been really well reciprocated the with everything that I do from friends, from family, and there's not
Yeah.
really been any issues, which I'm very, very grateful to have because I
Yeah, it's
feel like
awesome.
a lot of people are in a bit of a different boat and it can be quite demotivating
Mm.
to their goals. So for me to be in the position I am with the people around me that show that sort of level of support is, yeah, very, very good to have. So
Yeah, no, no. Your environment and your circle is like everything, and especially in a sport like this where it is 24/7. So
yeah.
it's always nice to hear when, an athlete has such a good network of people that kind of get it. But also like, I think something that I is maybe not talked about enough, or maybe someone hasn't maybe said it to you, maybe they have, but like, I want to give you, a pat on the back and your flowers in the sense of that, I think some people in your position wouldn't even have had the capacity or thought process to even reach out to their friends and go, hey, look, I'm sorry that I've been a bit distant. And, it's just, this is where I am in prep and this is what's going to happen. And look, it may get a bit worse, but look, I'm sorry. And like, I still care and I want to, so, be there. So I think it's really good and you should give you pat yourself on the back for even doing that. Cause like I said, I know some people I've talked to in their preps and like, that's been something that they want to work on for future preps or things that they've noticed they've struggled with is, maybe being a bit distant, but not even maybe communicating that effectively and then putting it too much on other people and stuff like that.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I feel like, you know, um, you just got to sort of, especially those people that don't understand it, make them informed
Mm.
about, because it does, like, going through something like a prep, it does change sort of the person you are for a short period of time. Like, you're going to be a dick or come across as a dick a lot of the time to a lot of
Yeah.
people, whether you sort of intend it or not. You're just that depleted that, you don't really have the social battery or the social battery that you once did. So, I mean, yeah, I feel like anyone going through prep, it is important to make those people informed that it's just going to be temporary, and make them reassure them that when it does sort of all roll over, that you'll be a lot more present, go out a lot more with them, spend a lot more time with them, and all that sort of stuff. I feel like
Yeah.
that's very important to make clear.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. Do you have you kind of experienced like I guess because like you said when you did your last prep you were still in school and stuff like that,
Hmm.
and obviously this prep being a little bit more different. How have you ran into like how different has this prep been? Like have you ran into any of those typical like prep challenges? Like, have you really had any days of struggling with being so depleted? How's this prep kind of been shaped differently?
I mean, the last prep was quite an unserious prep in the
Yeah.
sense that I feel like this one I've put fairly bit more pressure on myself, like in a positive way though. Like last prep, it was, like to put it into perspective, like I wasn't even really tracking my workouts or the weights I was doing. Like, yeah, I was very, very naive. I was 18 at the time. So like maybe I just wasn't taking it as serious as
Yeah.
I was now. Like this prep, I've really adopted the mentality that I want to sort of do everything I can to present the best look I can, regardless of the outcome. I'm content with the efforts I've put in. I didn't really have that approach last time. So this one is a lot more sort of meticulous. Everything, tracking everything, ticking all the boxes, doing all the cardio, posing practice, all that sort of stuff. So a lot more sort of stress around it, but I
Mm.
feel like it's quite positive stress. The prep so far, there was a bit of sort of a sort of a grey patch where having to meet the weight cap of potentially 94.8, there was from about, I started prep at about 20 weeks out and I got down at like 16 weeks out, I was like 99 kilos. So like it was moving pretty good, dropping a few kilos. And then from weeks like 14 to week like 9, I was
Mm.
just staying at 100 kilos. And, I was getting food dropped, getting increased in cardio, and my weight still wouldn't move. And I was thinking to myself, like, overthinking, getting caught up with the scale weight, being like, my weight's not moving and I'm, on half the amount of food that I was on in my off season. How low am I going to have to go? How much cardio am I
Yeah.
going to eventually have to do? Like it was driving me crazy. And then I was just, and then, like in the span of 3 weeks, I dropped like 4 or 5 kilos, despite none of the variables being changed. And I think it was just a stress response sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
sleep was starting to improve a bit. I was getting, more organized day to day. So the stress was being relieved a lot more. I was taking more time to, relax and things like
Yeah.
that. And that obviously put me in a much greater peace of mind. Because if you're sort of doing absolutely everything and, feeling so starved and doing
Mm.
all this cardio that's accumulating fatigue, if you're doing that and, you're not seeing any results, it can get to your head a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you're doing it like now that I'm doing all those things, and yeah, it might be hard, but I'm, reaping the benefits. I'm
Mm.
seeing the scale weight go down. I'm seeing the visuals improve. So for me, it's like, yeah, it might be hard, but it is worth it. Whereas
Mm.
back a few weeks ago, it was like, it is hard, but I'm not seeing anything. So it was
Yeah. So funny.
that's where George was like very, very good. Like he would reassure me and I would lean onto a few mates, within the bodybuilding space that, gave me that peace of mind as well, which was very good. But yeah, back then I was extremely overwhelmed, extremely stressed. Like I wouldn't say there were days where I was thinking about, giving up, but
Mm.
it was getting sort of spiraling down towards that. Just very overwhelmed, emotional and
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
But now in a much better headspace, just because, the on paper things are shaping up a lot better
Mm.
and sort of on track nicely, which is good. But I mean, aside from that, it's been like these past few weeks have been really good. Fatigue is, creeping up a tiny bit, which is completely expected. Like I never really went into this prep expecting everything to be smooth sailing and to feel as fresh as a daisy every single day. Um, but yeah, I mean, this point in time, feeling good, enjoying the process, and there's really not much longer left to go. So just got to
Yeah.
see it out. So
That's right. Just gotta finish strong and enjoy what's like, be as present as possible.
exactly right. Yeah,
It's crazy to think about, you know, how much stress can like do shit to you and then like get in your
crazy.
head, and especially when like especially I guess when you said like this is the first time you've taken it a lot more seriously. So then when you have that expectation, things are moving so slowly and then they just stall. And then
Yeah.
you're going, oh, fuck, what's going on? And I think, like, do you think if you didn't have that weight, like, gap you're trying to fill in for Classic, that maybe the stress wouldn't have been as much? Or do you think, regardless of it, that moment would have still stressed you out?
I think the stress. I feel like it still would have stressed me out because the visuals weren't
weren't
like,
moving.
yeah, like there would be like, like it goes back on the thing of, going through that phase where you start to look flat as
Mm,
the weeks go on through prep, which I didn't fully understand completely. And like, I would, do the very negative thing of getting the visuals up that I took that day, comparing them to the visuals I had 2 weeks ago,
yeah,
and be like, I looked so much leaner 2 weeks ago. What
yeah,
the hell is going on? And then again, I passed it through George and asked him, what the reasoning was, and he literally just gave me the big spiel about the whole process of being flat and looking deflated like a
yeah.
balloon per se. Um, which put into perspective, and but yeah, it was that combination of the visuals sort of in my head looking worse alongside with the scale weight not moving that
Mm,
played a big part. But now in a much better spot. Visuals are improving
yeah.
as the weeks go on and all that sort of stuff.
It's the importance of, you know, trusting the process and I guess having that faith in your coach. Because I remember a pro that I follow, she her prep's been a longer one. I think she started maybe 26 weeks out, and
Yep.
I think the first 4 or 5 weeks she was dropping a little bit, and then from like I think she was saying like week 20 to like week 12, nothing, nothing, like
Yeah.
no,
Wow.
no weight, no nothing, and it was driving her fucking insane. And then yeah, within the following couple of weeks, I think it was 2 weeks, something really similar, like what happened to you, like boom, 5 kilos, and just completely started to like look completely different, get started to get really peeled, and things like getting back in motion again. And it's just funny how like, it just depended on the person. Sometimes that can happen, or especially if like you're reaching, because of when she did her show, her like last pro show, she didn't get as lean as she was hoping for. So I think it was whether it was a mixture of her body never dieting that hard and then getting in that flat state, and then the stress of what she was having experiencing.
Yeah.
Well, fuck, why is nothing moving for so long, compounded? And then when obviously working with the coach and sticking it through, the body just ended up you know catching up with itself, and then just went, okay, there you go, we're going to the next level now.
Yeah. 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 For sure. It's a very up and down roller coaster, all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. 100%.
So what is your plan? So in the sense of like, are you wanting to be a pro? Like, are you just doing bodybuilding because it's fun, you enjoy it? And if you become a pro, that's exciting. If you win, that's just a part of the process. Like, what is your, I guess, long-term goal? Seeing that you are so young, and I guess it is really your first show in the IFBB.
My goal is to, so I mean, a lot of people have that goal of wanting to eventually reach the Mr. Olympia stage. A lot of people that do take bodybuilding very seriously, but for me, it's sort of taking it sort of step by step.
Mhm.
So, I mean, long term goal, like from a broad spectrum, is to just go as far as I can within the sport. Really, in all honesty, like I love the sport for what it is. I love the community there is around it, especially in Australia. There's such a good community. I've developed such positive relationships with people within the industry as well. So it's something that I want to keep on doing for as long as I can. And the competing aspect as well. Going into my first show, it's that journey is one that I really am enjoying. So obviously competing for as long as I can as well. So ultimately going as far as I can within the bodybuilding world, from a competitive standpoint. As far as this show goes, literally just to do as good as I can. Like
Mhm.
I'm not really putting any expectations. Just really just want to get on stage and say that I've done a show, and then just see where it takes me from there. But yeah, essentially, like the first stepping stone that I would love is to turn pro. That would be a real dream come true for sure.
Yeah, that's good. I think it's always good to kind of, you know, set your sights high and then have something to kind of work towards, because if the passion is there and you love it, and you did, yeah, you loved it from the very beginning, you had pictures up on your wall, you've always kind of been in the gym. I think it just will compound, and your physique is already showing very high promises at such a young age, so it is very exciting. And I think having that big drive, but then being able to just kind of take each step as they come, so each show, and like learn and grow and see what happens show to show. is important, and it just will make that journey more enjoyable. And I think the biggest thing is um being able to be invested in it longer. Because sometimes when you set a goal too high, but you're trying to reach it from the very beginning, you can get burnt out. And I've seen that
100%.
happen with a few athletes, and then they don't compete again, or they win the pro card and then they don't compete. And it's sometimes sad to see.
Like, yeah, I look at it in a way of that, like, obviously you got these genetic phenoms that are like, in their early 20s competing on the Olympia stage and things like that. But essentially, like, you've got competitors that are, into their late 30s, early 40s that still compete regularly at such a high level. So there is, I mean, obviously, if you play your cards right, play it sensibly and safely, you can have good longevity in the sport. And that's ultimately the route I want to go down. Do it as long as I can, or whatever it takes for me to achieve that goal in no specific time frame,
Mm.
and just keep it, like, do it for as long as I can at a healthy and staying safe, and with obviously the intention of taking it as far as I can, but then again, just enjoying the process for what it is, like, not in a rush really whatsoever. So
Yeah, it's crazy. I learned a fun fact the other day, which for some reason I thought he was younger than what he was, but I learned that like Brion is like 45 or 40,
mm,
47 maybe. I was
yeah,
like, what the
crazy.
fuck? And man, like looks like he's still in his like early 30s. It's insane. So, it really shows, I think, you know, having the passion, letting the passion never die, and doing things the right way, and you can be doing it for as long as you possibly can.
100%. Yeah.
Would you say obviously your focus now is just to kind of finish the job, get on stage, enjoy the whole process, say you've done a show, that's that first step that you're kind of talking towards. But would
Mhm.
you say your view of success from the start of prep to where it is now has changed, or do you think it's kind of stayed the same?
In terms of, like, what do you mean by that? Like,
Like, I guess whether you started prep, like where how you viewed success as, this prep being a success. Like, was it a certain look that you want to bring when you first started? Was it like, okay, George, let's bring this look to stage, or let's place here, or let's just make it in that success? And maybe, by the time where you're at now, you've gone, you know what, I've kind of, it doesn't matter where I place now, or it doesn't matter what look I bring. It's just about finishing the journey now. Or it's, you know what, I've actually reached, I feel like this has been a successful prep, and it doesn't matter what happens now. Or, is it still dependent on a certain goal in that, if that makes sense?
yeah, yeah, for sure. I don't necessarily, like, I mean, from the start, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, it would be good to, win juniors at a state level,
Hmm.
potentially even juniors at a national level, all this and all that. But I feel like with bodybuilding, it's not smart to put those goals in, like, in your mind, because at the end of the day, you don't know who you're going to be up against. Like, you don't know who your competition is. Yeah, you could have some sort of insight as to competitors on the day, but I feel like it's not uncommon at all for, you know some random genetic freak to just show up that you had no clue who that he was even prepping for the show.
Yeah.
So, like, in my head, like, yeah, it would be good to finish here or finish there, but at the end of the day, like, I don't really know exactly who I'll be up against. So for me, it's just, getting on that stage, and more so really considering it is my first show, just making it sort of a checkpoint, because I know that, getting on stage, obviously it's a great achievement in itself, but then I look towards um, the long term success that you can have from that in terms of rebounding effectively, and that's what really excites me. Obviously, stepping on stage excites me, like, to a great degree. But then it's like, well, if I, don't binge after the show and really take like a titrate up my calories, well, like,
Yeah.
it makes me think about the progression I can see coming out of the show, which excites me so much as well. So I guess at the moment it's a combination of the two.
Hmm.
But yeah, like, I did have that sort of mindset that, yeah, it would be good to place here or place there before I started prep. But right now, yeah, exactly what you said. It's just all about just getting on stage and presenting the best look I can. So
Yeah. But that's, that's such an underrated thing that you said. I feel like people still neglect that, which is like, because I remember a couple of years back, or probably a bit longer now, when I was doing some of the group podcasts with some of the boys, and like it was always that conversation of like, when should you step on stage? Like, is it too early? Like people, because I used to have that. My, well, I guess I somewhat do, but I'm learning to change it. Because I'm still yet to step on stage, but I was always wanting to like step on stage, but bring a physique where it was like, I'm not gonna be lost. And it was that mindset of like, but what they would always say is like, the quicker that you can actually get on stage, the better, because you're putting yourself in the best possible position to grow, because you
Yeah,
are getting yourself the leanest as possible. And then you only kind of go up when you kind of go about this way of trying to grow, mini cuts, not actually get yourself that peeled, and then do it for the first time. You never know how your body is going to respond. You never know how peeled you're actually going to get. And it's that thing that sometimes it it's from like show to show that you can get even more conditioned, and then but then you're adding in more size. So the earlier that you can get in that show, get it done, get that lean, rebound correctly to actually then skyrocket and then hold an even better composition to put on even more lean tissue is like the goal. And it's so funny that people like do not, I don't think, unless I'm blind, I feel like people still do not really focus on that mindset. They go, oh, I just can't wait to finish and just start hammering food and celebrate, or hammer food and get big as possible. But it's like you're missing the right opportunity that you can take. It's like a little nugget that only comes when you finish a show.
100%. Yeah, and it's yeah, the potential for progression coming out is ridiculous, and I've seen it with firsthand with um people I know. Some of my mates who competed even as like recent as season A. Fast forward a few months, and they've ticked the boxes correctly, and they've absolutely morphed. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a period in time where if you play your cards right and do it properly, you can make some incredible gains.
Definitely, definitely. Well, it sounds like you've got the right mindset, so I'm
No,
sure it's going
thank
to be
you.
happening to you. What's something that if you know, I know you said that you enjoyed, and I think you don't regret it, like being in those earlier stages in the gym when you were younger and just lifting super heavy and doing a bit of the powerlifting, and because you were young and being a bit reckless in that way. But do you think there's anything that you would kind of go back, like where you are now and what you know now and what your goals are? Do you think there's anything that you would go back and tell that younger version of yourself of maybe, hey, be a little bit more structured or a little bit more routine? Or do you think the chips
um,
fell where they fell for a reason, and you definitely wouldn't give any advice to your younger self?
to be honest, I mean, it was quite hard. Like when I look back at, when I was doing training of that sort of that style, a lot of it was in lockdown. So
Yeah,
the access to equipment that I have, thankfully, I actually did invest in quite a decent home setup as lockdown did commence. But it was just really, a power rack with, a barbell, like a lat pull down machine, like not a whole lot of equipment. So it was more so catered towards powerlifting. I would probably say that, I guess I could make the argument for sort of smarter programming, but then again, like I'm very thankful I didn't really injure myself, so I got
yeah,
away with it to an extent. And I really did enjoy, the thrill of PRing every second week and things like that. So from a training point, probably not. Like I would probably say when I started bodybuilding, like for example in my first show, things like logging my workouts and stuff. Like I didn't really start logging each session until 3 years ago. So
yeah,
potentially like getting on top of that at a bit earlier. I would probably say something that I probably could have done better is throughout my powerlifting days, made my diet a lot better.
mm,
Like I was, like from, I mean, to an extent, like from the end of 2019 when I competed. So I was 65 kilos when I was 15. So December 2019, my first powerlifting comp, I was 65. And then end of 2020, so fast forward exactly 12 months, I was 98 kilos. So I put on 33 kilos in 12
damn,
months. But that was like just through eating like shit. Like I was quite chunky, but I feel like, that progression that I made, it could have been done a lot smarter, just through a lot
yeah,
more, thought out eating and things of that nature. So that's probably the only thing that I would probably fix up. the training I did, I did enjoy it thoroughly, and I probably wouldn't change it, because looking back, it's something that I definitely couldn't get away with now,
Mm.
as far as the joints and all that are concerned. So
I
yeah,
think it's hard. I think like so, it's that always I think it's something that's never going to be proven within bodybuilding. Like I think like it's just not. Like I think you'd have to do a proper like you'd have to get like 1,000 people to do it and do a proper study. But it's like that whole myth of you have if you want to like you have to do at least one form of dirty bulk so you can say that that was your dirty bulk that kind of like and you did it at the right age where you were kind of young that kind of it worked in your favor but it everyone kind of says especially if you want to kind of do that open or if you were skinny or whatever you got to kind of do that dirty bulk it kind of just helps like and it's better to do it when you're younger.
it teaches you a lot for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, 100%. You're spot on there.
I remember there was a guy that I at my first gym that I went to. Um, fuck, he was taller than me, and he was so fucking. He almost looked anorexic. It was crazy. He must have been like, what? I'm like 6 foot, so he must have been like 6'1", 6'2", and yeah, he must I don't know 50 kilos. He like literally looked anorexic, and I remember he started getting coached by someone there, and he did the most filthiest bulk I've ever seen. He was eating like I think max at one point like 7,000 calories. Like he was having like
Oh,
almost like a carton of orange juice and a carton of oat chocolate milk a day. And then mixed with all your other like chicken and rice and stuff. It was
yeah,
fucked up. He was getting. I was talking to him and he's like, man, I'm like getting so sick. Like I'm wanting to like vomit. And but he like went from whatever he was, and I remember he finished the bulk to like must have been like 100 kilos. Like, he ended up looking pretty fat. Like it was crazy. And then he did like a massive diet down. And I think he ended up around like that. Maybe it was like 80s or high 70s, like 78 to 80. It
yeah,
was just something crazy. But all of a sudden he didn't look anorexic, didn't look skinny. He was able to kind of like not because how old was he? He was around like 17, 18. So it's like your body can just do that and then not
yeah, of
kind of look
course.
shit. It
Yeah,
was just the most mind-blowing thing to watch. But it's just again like that example of like, well, if you were going to do that, this is the best time to do it.
young age. Yeah, 100. You can get away with it. Yeah, 100%.
What what has been the biggest thing you've learned, like since working with George? Like, what's been, I guess, like a takeaway that I think I'll like if you were to stop working with George or you were to stop bodybuilding tomorrow or after this show, what do you
Yeah.
think has been like the biggest thing you've learned from George and you will like, apply to the rest of your life?
Oh, that's a really good question. Hmm. I'd probably say just like, oh, that is a good question. Um, he's definitely like taught me with like like just to be sort of when it comes to things like um dieting or training or even PDs for that matter, just the more so conservative approach with it all. Like you see a lot of, and like myself included, I hear a lot of people, training so hard they're putting their body through the ringer, or like doing these ridiculous sort of cycles and whatnot, or like ridiculous diet protocols. And with him, with the program he's done for me, he's just kept things very simple. And I would have thought, jumping to a coach of his caliber would be quite, not necessarily complicated, but there would be sort of so much to it. Whereas his approach is naturally generally quite simple,
Hmm.
and not too like it's obviously very well thought out and things of that nature. But it's like the diet, like I mean, obviously to a lot of people it's common knowledge, but like just being on this sort of exact same meal plan myself for the past ever since I've been on board with George, and the only thing that's changed is just the volume or quantities of food. And he's taught me so much about the importance of digestion, for that matter, the body just getting used to the amounts of food. And for example, on refeed days, for me during prep, it's not a matter of going out having a burger. It's just a matter of increasing the amount of carbs that we're having through carbs that we've been used to throughout the whole process. So just like all these sort of simple approaches to things that off like before getting started, I thought, it would be so complicated and everything like that. But it's just like the simple approach with the PDs, getting the most out of the minimum effective dose, like things
Yeah.
like that, which I mean is more applicable to sort of general bodybuilding than sort of day to day life.
Yeah.
Um, even so, like the training, like he's just sort of taught me so much about that, not overcomplicating movements, keeping it simple, and just sort of just through times, especially in off season, just not overcomplicating stuff, keeping things simple. Like it's going to be monotonous, it's going to be boring, but just the best thing for progression is just doing the same stuff week in week out, with progressing within the gym with training, whilst keeping your form standardized the whole way through. So just more specific to bodybuilding, the sort of simple but extremely educated approach that he has, which through following it, it's got me tremendous results ever since starting with him. So if I was to take things into my own hands, now going forward, it would just be that would be the biggest takeaway that I'd have,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you get so caught up. Like I see and hear things on social media, people doing stupid training, or as I said, nutrition protocols, cycle protocols, stack designs, and it's like to a point where like, are you even seeing? Is it even worth the trade off with that sort of stuff? So yeah,
Yeah, because I think a big thing of that is it's like it's like I guess the right word's novelty. You get like so
mm,
hung up on novelty that it's like you think something's working because it's new, but it's like you haven't even tried the most simplest approach for long enough to see that it's going to work. But this novelty thing is actually probably doing more harm. And it's kind of what you even said. And I think it still applies to your day-to-day life, which is what I think you were kind of really getting at, which is, you know, it's that saying, and I know like, um, Dean's very big on like, what is it? Diet smart. No, what is it? Train, no.
diet smart, not hard, something
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
diet
Yeah,
smart, not hard. It's like the same thing. Like do get more out of doing less. And I think that it can
one hundred
apply to
percent.
your actual day-to-day life. It's like anything that you do, how can you get the most while, kind of doing the less? It sounds a bit counterintuitive, but it works. Like if you
Hundred
really think
percent.
about it, like you'd be surprised what you can get without trying to, because I think in some way you end up you're avoiding being greedy. And when you try to be greedy, things never work out for you.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah, definitely that. Their whole motto, "Diet smart, not hard." Applying that to all realms of life, not specific to bodybuilding. It's there's definitely merit to it for sure.
One final question. I appreciate
Mm-hmm.
your time.
Nah, likewise.
So it kind of, I realize after the fact now, it kind of continues on from what I just asked you. But I like to kind of end all podcasts like this, which is what would you say is your current, like whether it's, a saying, a your a life motto right now, whether it's got to do with prep or it's got to do with the rest of the year. What is like your quote or motivation, or how are you living each day to kind of get through? Um, and it's just kind of meant to be that wisdom that, for people who have made it all the way to the end, that you want to part onto them to hopefully help them with whatever goals or their day or as bodybuilders themselves. What would you like to part knowledge onto them?
As in like a quote that I sort of like to stand by, or
Yeah, yeah, kind of. And that's why I like whether I thought it's like a motto. Like for example, um, the common thing seems to be nine times out of ten, everyone ends up saying something super cliche. But I like to think the cliche things are cliche because they genuinely are impactful.
yeah, of course. I mean, one specific quote that really sort of jumps at like stood out to me when I first heard it. It's something along the lines of like, if someone was to follow you around for a day, would they believe that you're serious about your goals?
Oh, I
I feel
like
like,
that. I like that. I haven't heard that
yeah,
in a while. That's a good one. That's a good
yeah.
one.
So a lot of the times, if I think like if that comes to mind, I think about if someone was following me around, today, if I reflect at the end of the day, my actions that I have portrayed that day, would they say that they are serious about the goals that I tell them I
Yeah.
am, that
Yeah.
I want to achieve? And then it makes me think, if that's not the case tomorrow, if someone was, theoretically following me around for a day, I wanted to make it 100% that they would believe that I am. So,
Yeah.
and that obviously, like, it means that, everything that you do, if you are serious about those
Mm.
goals, make it known with your actions day to day and the things that you do. So,
No, that I rate that, especially for being in prep. Like I think that's such a good prep mindset to be in. Because I think sometimes it can be really easy to accidentally be like complacent or even just, tick some of the boxes, but not all the boxes, but then go, this is my goal. Like I've been having conversations with a few people, and it's kind of that thing of really understanding what your goal is and is it actually a goal of yours. And if you're finding it too hard or you're finding the process difficult or you're failing, maybe that goal isn't actually yours. You just think you want it to be, and it's
mm,
okay that it's not, and you can shift that. But, be honest with yourself. So I think having that mindset of going, well, if someone was following me, what tasks am I doing? Would this person report back and go, you know what, fuck, this person is serious about wanting to do this. Is this person, this is their goals. Everything they did today, they gave it 110% because they knew it was going to get them close to their goals.
yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think it is a very good quote to reflect on for sure.
I like that. I think that's honestly, I gotta say, like, that's actually probably the best one that I've definitely heard so far. I'm gonna
Oh,
start
thank you.
applying that. I
I
appreciate that. So,
love that.
you definitely impacted someone with it.
No, I appreciate that. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you so much for jumping on and having a chat. It's been an absolute pleasure to get to know you, and it makes me even more excited to see you up on stage soon.
Thank you
And,
very
I
much.
hope you just finish out the rest of the prep strong, get the job done, and I'm sure you're going to surprise yourself and surprise a lot of people. And no matter what happens, you did the first step that you got to do, and you can only go up from here.
Yeah, no, well, yeah, thank you very much for, the invitation for having me on. I, yeah, very much appreciate it. And I saw some of the other athletes you've had on the podcast, so it's definitely, a blessing to, some of the caliber of the athletes you've had on a very high standard. So it's awesome to be a part of that now. So yeah, I appreciate your time as well.
That's an absolute pleasure, man. Well, enjoy the rest of your day,
You
and
too.
I'm sure I'll speak to you again soon.
Too easy. Take care. Have a good